Welcome to Esoteric-Truth. I'm your host Trinity, and today I'll be discussing an article that surprisingly came out of a mainstream media outlet called Newsweek. The name of the article is Military Secret Shame. This is in reference to sexual assaults in the military. Though this is not surprising to some of you out there, it is in fact not in reference to women, rape, and sexual assault, but of one that is almost never talked about, and that is the rape of men in today's military. Here is some of what was written in the article. Greg Judloff was 35 and new to America when he decided to join the Army. Like most soldiers, he was driven by both patriotism for his adopted homeland and the pragmatic notion that the military could be a first step in a career that would enable him to provide for his new family. Instead, Judloff arrived in Fort Benning, Georgia for basic training in May of 2009, in the middle of the economic crisis and rising xenophobia. The soldiers in his unit, responding to his Russian accent and New York City address, called him a champagne socialist and a commie faggot. He was, he told Newsweek, in the middle of the Viper's pit. Less than 2 weeks after arriving on base, he was gang raped in the barracks by men who said they were showing him who was in charge of the United States. When he reported the attack to unit commanders, he says they told him it must have been your fault. You must have provoked them. In 2010, nearly 50,000 male veterans screened positive for military sexual trauma at the Department of Veterans Affairs, up from just over 30,000 in 2003. While many might assume the perpetrators of such assaults are closeted gay soldiers, military experts and outside researchers say assailants usually are heterosexual. Like in prison and other predominantly male environments, male-on-male assault in the military, experts say, is motivated not by homosexuality, but by power, intimidation, and domination. Assault victims, both male and female, are typically young and low-ranking. They are targeted for their vulnerability. Often in male-on-male cases, assailants go after those they assume are gay, even if they're not. One of the reasons people commit sexual assault is to put people in their place, to drive them out, says Mike Hunter, author of Honor Betrayed, Sexual Abuse in America's Military. Sexual assault isn't about sex. It's about violence. And another victim had spoke out by the name of Blake Stevens, now 29, joined the Army in January of 2001, just 7 months after graduating from high school. The verbal and physical attacks started quickly, he says, and came from virtually every level of his chain of command. In one of the worst incidents, a group of men tackled him, shoved a soda bottle into his rectum, and threw him backward off an elevated platform onto the hood of a car. When he reported the incident, Stevens says his platoon sergeant told him, "You're the problem. You're the reason this is happening," and refused to take action. "You just feel trapped," he says. "They basically tell you you're going to have to keep working with these people day after day, night after night. You don't have a choice." His assailants told him that once deployed to Iraq, they would shoot him in the head. "They told me they were going to have sex with me all the time when we were there," he says. Stevens twice attempted suicide. His marriage fell apart. He became paranoid and explosive. In June of 2003, his mother wrote a letter to Senator Barbara Boxer, detailing her son's continued humiliation. Congressional inquiries have been known to jeopardize a soldier's rank and standing. Boxer's office responded, "There is no way for our office to administratively protect your son's military standing once a congressional examination is in progress." The following August, Stevens was just discharged for his physical condition. Until 2006, sexual assault was classified as a women's health issue, and even today, Pentagon awareness campaigns target women almost exclusively. Kathleen Shard, the Cincinnati VA psychologist who runs PTSD programs, says that more than 11% of the men she works with will eventually admit they were sexually victimized. Nationwide, there are just 6 programs like hers, and there is a single VA facility in Bay Pines, Florida that specifically treats male survivors of sexual trauma. When Matthews finally sought treatment for the PTSD caused by his rape, he said he had to wait 6 months for a space to open up. "I went to the group and there's all these guys from the Korean War through Desert Storm," he recalls, and you say, "Oh my God." I wanted to share this to assure people that may be listening that there is a huge problem that is currently happening in our military and system of government. This is almost never spoke about, and neither is the huge amount of veterans that return home and are severely depressed or commit suicide. Many of the soldiers that come home and are ashamed will not say a thing and live in silence with a weight on them that cannot be understood. If you are a victim of a sexual assault and you're seeking assistance, go to the National Center for PTSD to find a service provider in your area for immediate help contact the SAFE helpline, the Department of Defense's new crisis support center via phone call, text, or instant message. Operated by RAINN, or RAIN, the nation's largest anti-sexual violence organization. Your information will be kept confidential and will not be shared with anyone on your chain of command. I want to thank you for listening to Esoteric-Truth Radio. Please visit the links to chat with other listeners about this episode.